hello there. It is so great to be back. Oh my goodness, so much to tell you as per usual. So we actually spent Thanksgiving in the most magical place on earth. So we were actually in Disney World for Thanksgiving, and it was lovely. We had a fantastic time. Now, again, really have to set expectations, right? Because it's a little busier. And, we didn't necessarily get on all the rides we wanted, and that's totally fine. We had such a nice time. In fact, I actually took 2 days to myself where Mark took the kids to Blizzard Beach one day and then Hollywood Studios another day. And to be honest, those two places for me, give or take. So I actually just hung out by myself in the hotel, took a really long nap both days, and just chilled. And it was awesome. So I have to say that Disney for me is very regulating. In fact, I wear an Oura ring, and one of the things that the rings tell you is how your stress is doing. And I have to tell you, for much of the time while in Disney, my stress was being recorded at its lowest numbers, okay? And it's so interesting because most people think of Disney as being stressful. And I think it's just the expectation I set. And I have to say, just people watching and maybe watching other people's chaos, that's not my chaos, is kind of nice, okay? It's all of a sudden I get to not worry so much about me, and I get to just observe. And that is really cool. So with that being said, we can't wait to go back. We are definitely huge Disney people. We wound up getting season passes this year because the price of the ticket, if you're going to get a ticket every day for a week, it is probably more expensive than it would be to get a season pass. And we actually are going back again in January. And then we're actually going to spend spring break there. We have Disney Vacation Club. So for us, it makes a lot of sense to go back more often. And so we're excited. It's going to be really fun. And I'm also really glad to be home. I really missed being home. I miss my dog. So the dog's coming back from her vacation today. So we have this really nice family who does boarding for us in their home, which is fantastic. It's just nice to be home. All right, so topic for today, I'm super excited about. We are going to be talking about meal prep strategies for busy people like you, okay? Now, the reason why I'm so excited about it is because I don't like to meal prep. I don't know if you know that about me, but I don't like to meal prep. And yet, it also is very useful. So I tried to dive into the reasons why I don't like to meal prep. And one of the things that's true about me is that I want to be able to make the decision in real time. Example is that if I prep chicken on Sunday, how do I know I'm going to want it on Thursday? Okay, so that's something that I definitely had to kind of dive into more. And it's this idea of, well, if having a really solid, balanced meal available, is it okay if it's not exactly what I want? Maybe that's okay. So it's about looking at kind of the pros and cons. The other thing I really didn't like about meal prep in the past is the amount of time it would take. I can remember taking Sundays, and it would literally take all day to prep so many different things. And I didn't really want to spend my entire Sunday doing that anymore. So I have to tell you that I thought long and hard about this. And I also observed my coaching groups. And what I noticed is that people really do like recommendations. They really do want you to give them specific ideas on what to eat. Now, here's where I had a blind spot. Everybody has their zone of genius, right? For example, some people are really, really good at putting different colors together. There's some people that are really good at decorating. There's some people that are just really good at fashion and kind of design and what they're going to wear with their clothing. And all of us have something like that. I never honored the fact that my zone of genius is actually just being able to put food items together quickly. So I could literally walk into a kitchen, look at what's available, and put really well-balanced, high-protein meals together. I can just do it, and it doesn't take me long. I also think it's because I've had a lot of practice with it. Also, I'm Italian, so you know how those Italians are. They just basically throw a bunch of stuff in a pot, and it turns out pretty good. So I used to just take for granted that skill set I had. And I thought that because it was so easy for me, everybody had it. I just thought that that's what everybody did until I had a friend one time say to me, no, that's not what everybody does. That's not at all. To other people, it doesn't make sense. You just need to tell them what to eat. Okay, so I started thinking about that more. And when I teach nutrition and when I offer nutrition and I customize nutrition, I want to give people as much flexibility as possible. Okay, so that's why in the past I didn't really say, here, this is what you're eating this week, right? Now I always provide recipes that people can pick and choose from. But again, there's some level of organization where you say, hey, for the next 2 weeks, this is what we're going to eat. And this is how we're going to prep it. And it's going to take you under an hour each week to prep all your dinners for the entire week. That's kind of appealing. So much so that I actually created this guide. So it's called the batch protein process, essentially. So what I'm doing in my current coaching group, we are doing a 2-week process where each week they're prepping 3 proteins. Okay, so week 1, we're doing chicken, steak, and shrimp. Now, for our vegan and vegetarians, we have a whole other plan. So we're doing things like tempeh, lentils, stuff like that. So we do have both options. And what we're doing is we are prepping those proteins, and then I have the recipe guide and shopping list for 7 dinners that will basically be made up of one of those 3 proteins, and then whatever the other ingredients are. Okay, so I have nice little shopping lists, I have macros, I have all the things. And so the cool thing is I said, well, I'm gonna do this too, okay? And I said, if I'm gonna offer tips for meal prep for busy people, I need to actually try it and see if it's something I would continue to do. Okay, so what do you know? I got my chicken, I got my shrimp, I got my steak. And I also ordered everything I would need for the entire week. And I have to tell you that if this goes well, because this is week 1, my grocery bill is a lot less, tons less. Like I'm talking ridiculous amounts less. And so I ordered all the things up. And then what I did so far is we're doing chicken, right? And so for the chicken, there's 3 recipes that go with the chicken. For the shrimp, there's 2 recipes that go with the shrimp, and then steak, there's 2 recipes that go with the steak. So the approach, okay, I have the 3 proteins. Chicken, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna prep 6 pounds of chicken today. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in the oven, I'm gonna bake it. It's marinating right now. So I actually have it marinating in some olive oil, coconut aminos, 3 pounds of it's doing that. The other 3 pounds is doing a Greek style dressing type of marinade. So I'm going to marinate that, and then I'm going to cook all that chicken up. Okay. Then from there, I'm going to make tonight's dinner super easy. So we're going to do the Asian flare chicken. We're going to do some stir-fry veggies, and we're going to do some quinoa. Super easy. Okay. I'm currently thawing my shrimp. Okay, because tomorrow we'll prep the shrimp, and tomorrow's first shrimp dinner will be had. We'll have shrimp tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna do shrimp tacos. Great. Now what happens on Wednesday? Wednesday, I go ahead and I prep the steak. So I prep 3 different proteins on 3 different days, and I have all the ingredients to quick put together a stir fry or roast some veggies or, put a couple of sweet potatoes on, whatever it takes. And this way, you are using the same protein for multiple meals, and the recipes are super simple. So it's going to provide a high protein, very macro friendly meal each night of the week. And here's the great thing. It's all portioned out so that it is determined to feed a family of 4. So if you have less, you do less. If you have more, you do more. Okay, so this is one strategy you can use. You can decide what proteins are you eating for dinner each night this week, okay? From there, you can prep all the proteins on one day. So you could literally do all three of your proteins. You could even get by with one protein for the week. Let's just say you want 2 for variety, whatever it is, 1, 2, or 3 proteins, you can prep them all on a Sunday. Now, as long as you're storing them, and I recommend a glass sealed container, they are going to stay fresh. And particularly if you marinate them, that also helps to kind of preserve some of the freshness as well. So with all that being said, you can safely prep your proteins ahead of time. You can even prep your veggies ahead of time. So you can go ahead and roast a couple of trays of veggies for the whole week. You can make a whole container of quinoa. You can make a whole container of sweet potatoes, brown rice, whatever you want your carb to be. And then all you do is you assemble the meal. Take a protein, load up a bunch of veggies, add a complex carb like a sweet potato or something, okay? And then you just kind of vary the different flavors. All right, so I'm gonna actually tonight roast broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, and also cabbage. Did you know that roasted cabbage is pretty amazing? So I'm gonna go ahead and do the chicken. I'm gonna roast up all those veggies, okay? Tonight we're gonna do the quinoa, so I'll make a big container of the quinoa. We'll do quinoa, chicken, and then we'll do probably broccoli and carrots. My kids love the carrots. And then tomorrow, okay, because we're moving into the shrimp, we'll do the shrimp tacos. And notice what I did. I roasted the cabbage, okay? So I'm actually gonna use that cabbage on the tacos for shrimp tacos. Do you see? Yeah. What do we do with the steak then? All right, steak, easy. We prep that. Now we go sweet potatoes. And what do we have left? Oh, cauliflower. Let's make a cauliflower mash. All you do is mash the cauliflower up, add some milk, add some salt, some butter, if you will. You have yourself some cauliflower mashed potatoes, okay? So steak and potatoes, there you go, there you have it. So all of that is just actually allowing you to do things on the fly, but also being prepared ahead of time. So I'm able to do all of that because it is planned out, okay? So meal prep doesn't have to take you hours. Again, a simple strategy is the batch prep of the protein, okay? Let's say you're vegetarian. Make a huge pot of lentils. Make a huge batch of tempeh. I love tempeh. It is amazing. So you could go ahead, marinate the tempeh in some, I like apple cider vinegar, the coconut aminos, and sesame oil for the tempeh. Marinate that, air fry it. It is phenomenal, okay? You're gonna have a nice amount. You can go ahead and do a few batches of it. You can store it, and now you have tempeh for at least 3 meals that week, okay? And now here's the other thing. Not only are you gonna save on groceries, but you're gonna notice what your family eats, or you're gonna notice what you eat throughout the week. And then going forward, when you start this type of batch meal prep, you're gonna be very clear on the kinds of things that you want to eat every week, okay? So one of the things that people definitely get intimidated on is when they see meal prep, they meal prep in a way that somebody tells them to, and it takes a long time, it takes tons of ingredients, it takes a lot of containers, it's super overwhelming, okay? Instead of saying, hey, listen, we're gonna start with 1 protein. Let's start with 1 protein, couple of complex carbohydrates, a bunch of veggies, okay? And start mixing and matching. This is how you create meals. You mix and match. Okay, so strategy 1, batch prep your protein. Strategy 2, mix and match your veggies and your complex carb. Okay, so I teach mindful macros. This is my custom nutrition strategy, and this is where we balance our plate. We do a 1-to-1 ratio with protein and complex carbs. So these are your things like sweet potatoes and brown rice and quinoa and couscous, even things like that, even bread. Like these are your complex starchy carbs. 1-to-1 ratio. For protein, it's about 4 to 6 ounces. For the starchy carb, it's about a half a cup or about 4 ounces. And then you don't count your veggies. We do not count veggies with mindful macros, okay? So you're gonna go ahead, pick a bunch of veggies, roast them, prep a couple, 2 complex carbs. Now you mix and match, okay? So that's step 2 or tip number 2. Tip number 3, make extras and prepare it for lunch the next day, okay? So for example, let's say that you have a family of 4. And let's say that 2 of you want to bring leftovers for lunch. So you cook for a family of 6, okay? Then the extra portions you go ahead and you put into containers for your lunch the next day. This is how you're now building up your meal repertoire, because you're not just eating one mindful macro healthy meal with loads of protein, you're now eating two. Your lunch now is a mindful macro meal, okay? So the really cool thing, all right, is that you have to build on your meal prep strategy, because it's going to be different for everyone, okay? But the batch prep protein, 1, pick a couple of complex carbs, unlimit your veggies, mix and match. 2, 3, make extra, bring it for lunch the next day. Okay, that's gonna be amazing. All right, let's talk about some more strategies. How about the Crock-Pot? Have we talked about the Crock-Pot? I'm definitely gonna give that meal prep strategy number 4. One of the things that you can do, if you like more variety, you actually can prep an entire meal, okay, in a airtight container. And what you would do, for example, let's say you want to do beef stew, okay? You could get your beef, you could season it, and then you could put anything else that's going in that beef stew right along with it. Just put it in a container as if you were putting it right into the Crock-Pot. Then when you wake up in the morning, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna put that entire container into the Crock-Pot. You're gonna set it on low, and then you're gonna just let it go. In 8 hours, it will be ready. That's all you have to do. And it is safe to leave your Crock-Pot on. It is totally fine. So then you come home to a wonderful, delicious, amazing meal. There are so many different recipes you can do here. So I mentioned the beef stew. So we're talking things like potatoes, carrots, the beef, celery, onion, right? Whatever kind of gravy or topping you want to put in there, because you don't want to put it in dry, right? You have to have some kind of liquid in there. Go ahead, put that in. There's your meal, all right? How about this? How about crustless chicken pot pie? You can do chicken and your celery and your carrots and your potatoes and any other veggie you want, peas, corn, whatever. You can go ahead, put your, I like to actually, in this scenario, I would do a chicken broth. If you want more protein, you could do a bone broth. Put it in there. 8 hours on low, come home, put a container of the cream of chicken, literally the Lipton's cream of chicken. Is it Lipton's? It's Campbell's cream of chicken soup to thicken it up. Done. You now have crustless chicken pot pie. You can go ahead, throw a few crackers on top if you want to have a little bit of crunch or crust. That's fine. Okay, or throw some bonza pasta in there the last 5 minutes of cooking. And it actually comes out like dumplings. If you put bonza pasta in something like that chicken, it literally tastes like you made chicken and dumplings. My family loves it, okay? Next thing, maybe you wanna have a Tex-Mex night. Okay, fine, great. Take your ground beef, put some seasoning in there, okay? I actually like to do the ground beef, a jar of salsa, a jar or 2 of salsa, all right? Do frozen peppers and onions right in there. Okay, mix it up, because if you don't mix the meat up, you're gonna have a big block of meat. Let it go 8 hours. Speaking of which, if you do want a big block of meat, go with meatloaf, okay? Meatloaf. Eggs. I like to put oats in there instead of breadcrumbs. I don't know, it's really healthy, really good, it's delicious. Throw your sweet potatoes right in there, okay? Cover it, 8 hours, boom, and done, all right? You now have this delicious home-style meatloaf meal. All right, you could do this with your vegetarian options, okay? So you can, if you have, I also like an Instapot, so if you want to pressure cook your lentils, you can, and then in the Crock-Pot, do a huge, I would love like a coconut curry. I would do cauliflower, potatoes, carrots. I would probably go to Trader Joe's and get their pre-made curry, like they actually do have a nice curry already made. And I would just put it all together. I would add some coconut milk to that. Boom, done. Add the lentils. There's your meal. So what you're doing is you're meal prepping, yes, but you're doing it in a way where you have more autonomy, if you will, or you can actually listen to what you want to eat that day. If you know what you want to eat for the week, why not just make 5 different meals like that, pop them in the Crock-Pot each morning. I'm telling you, meal prep in this way is going to guarantee that you have a nice, solid, protein-rich, healthy dinner to come home to. Otherwise, we're hitting DoorDash, we're hitting Instacart to get last-minute ingredients. We're going to do all the things that are going to just be easier. Okay, so we really have to start embracing that meal prep is fun, that meal prep is worth it, that meal prep is easy. Okay, so that's your next strategy, utilization of your Crock-Pot. Okay, now with those Crock-Pot meals, take them for leftovers the next day, the lunch. Okay, all right, let's talk about breakfast. Okay, I'm going to give you tip number 5. This is your overnight oats. Yes, ma'am, I love me some overnight oats. Okay, so number 5. Overnight oats are fantastic because, oats in general, they have a great kind of track record in terms of fiber and just they have, their glycemic index is relatively low in comparison to some of the other things. Combining that with some yogurt, combining that with some almond milk, some cinnamon, whatever nuts and fruit you like, it's amazing. So you can have yourself a nice high protein overnight oats and anything goes. I mean, you can do a chocolate peanut butter overnight oats. You can do a cinnamon apple strudel overnight oats. Like, get creative, make it your own. You can do a banana pudding overnight oats and you can play with flavors. There are no rules here. And to be honest, it usually turns out pretty good. I mean, it's really hard to mess it up. Okay. This is a really great way to get a solid breakfast. You don't have to think about it. You grab it, you go. Okay, so that's tip number 5, the overnight oats ahead of time. Now, the overnight oats taste better as time goes on. So you could make, whoever wants to eat them in your family, let's say 3 of you are going to eat them, you can make 15 jars. You can do that on a Sunday and they'll still be good throughout the week, especially if you're making them in those mason jars, because you can go ahead, mason jar it, screw on the top. It's going to keep it nice and sealed tight. You got yourself some awesome breakfast. I'm going to give you a 6th tip. Okay, because this is one that comes up a lot for many of my physician clients. They get overly hungry between lunch and dinner, but they're super busy, so they don't really have time to get anything healthy, and then they come home for dinner ravenous. So what I typically say is plan for a meal in between lunch and going home for dinner. Now, obviously, it has to be something that is easy, accessible. You can transport it, okay? So it depends on what your situation is at work, if you have a fridge or whatever, but sometimes it can be a protein bar if you need to do it. Sometimes it can be a protein shake if you need to do it. I've recently been drinking this lemon ice protein powder, but it's not milky protein powder. It tastes like lemonade. It is amazing. So that would be a really great strategy. I mean, that protein water would be a really nice protein boost in between kind of that lunch and that dinner. And what's the prep on that? You bring a container with you to work and leave it there, right? So we have to think about what are some easy ways, because the other thing too is your food has to be satisfying. If you are not satisfied with your food, you will not continue the strategy. That's why diets don't work. They don't work, because if you were to say to somebody, okay, eat these things and it's how you'll get your result, that's fine. But the only association you'll ever make is that this food gives me this result. You totally bypass the part on what is it like to adopt this kind of lifestyle if I were to eat this way? Can I visualize myself actually being a person who eats a little mini meal at 4 p.m., right? You actually have to start seeing, will this fit into your lifestyle and are you willing to do it? Okay, so love it, love it, love it. Another thing you can do, okay? So meal prep 7, okay? Meal prep 7 would be semi-homemade. Let's say you go out to eat. Take half your meal home with you, okay? Bring it home with you, and then bring it home and zhuzh it up. I love that word, zhuzh. Zhuzh it up a little bit, all right? So, for example, we went out and I had hibachi steak. Okay, so I ate half the amount when we were at the restaurant, brought the second half home. So what did I do? So I took the steak and I actually added it to a tortilla, added some cheese, added peppers and onions, and I made a steak quesadilla. Okay, so repurpose is going to be super useful for meal prep. Okay, and it actually helps you use leftovers because you're looking forward to a new meal based on a protein that's already prepped. Okay, tip 8. Let's say you don't want to do any of that. Have somebody prep your proteins. Have somebody prep your meats. That's it. You buy prepped meats, okay? There's a lot of different meal services that can do it. Buy your prepped meats and then literally play around with which starchy carbs you like, play around with what veggies you like, play around with what fruits you like, and then mix and match them, okay? That is a great strategy, okay? Because I'd say that tip number 9 for meal prep is basically purchasing one of these subscriptions where you get your meals and you pay a certain amount of money and you get your meals for the week and all of that. That has never worked for me because, again, it's not what I want to eat maybe necessarily in the moment. And I get really stressed out when I start having excess and I'm getting behind on it, right? I don't want to create stress with my food. However, for you, like that might be great. So you might like to invest in a meal prep program like that. And there's plenty out there. During COVID, we actually did Daily Harvest, and I really liked that a lot. And I actually thought about getting some more of that just to kind of mix things up a little bit for lunch. They do really great smoothies. And the smoothies don't have a lot of protein in them, but the great thing about them is you can add your protein right to the smoothies, which is fantastic. So I might actually go ahead and kind of use a little bit of a supplement of a plan like that. I do like Daily Harvest. I've really been pleased with kind of the things that they offer. They have a lot of great also vegetarian options, which is phenomenal. Okay, I'm going to give you a tip 10 because why not? We hit it to 9, let's hit it to 10. Okay, so 10 is going to be that you don't have to be perfect at this. Okay, you just have to do your best. All right, it's not always going to work out. Sometimes you're going to hit the M&M jar. Sometimes you're going to hit the, DoorDash a couple times that week. It's okay. Just realize that this is life. It's always just the season. All you ever have to do is make the next best decision. You don't beat yourself up, okay? It doesn't have to be all or none. All right, so how can meal prep serve you in a way where it can be easy, where you can look forward to it, where it doesn't have to feel like it's a restrictive diet plan? Okay, I want you to think about that. And again, listen to this episode one more time. Go through it. Decide what is one thing you can pull from this episode to be able to bring into your life to help make meals easier for you. The batch prep protein for sure for me has been a game changer. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're currently doing this in my Transform program. Okay, if you are not in the Transform program, okay, or if you are in the Transform program, I have something special for you. It's a free download. It is called 1 Protein, 7 Lunches. Okay, and this is curated specifically for really busy people. Initially, I did it for women docs, but it's for really busy people. You're gonna prep 1 protein and you're gonna make 7 unique lunches, okay? The recipes, shopping list, everything are right in this guide. The guide is free, okay? I start you with 1 protein on the animal side and 1 protein on the vegetarian side. So there's 2 different options. And this way you can have a guaranteed high protein, super nutritious lunch every day of the week. 1 protein, 7 lunches, okay? I think you're gonna love it. So you can go ahead in the show notes and you can download the free lunch guide. It looks super pretty. I'm super happy with it. And just go ahead and get started. See if this could be a strategy that works for you. All right, my friends, until next time, we are having a great time over here. And if you didn't already hear, we are enrolling Transform 9.0 until January 6th. So you can go ahead and check out Transform. Go ahead and hit the link. It's right in the show notes. Do that along with your lunch guide and you are going to be in business. All right, my friends, until next time, we'll talk soon.